Welcome to your Science News Bulletin for March 1st, 2026.
Today, we're diving into some huge stories, from major changes to the Artemis moon program to some really big breakthroughs in aging, genetics, and even artificial intelligence.
So first up, let's head to space. NASA is completely overhauling its plan to get back to the moon. And at the same time, new analysis from Mars is giving us some tantalizing new clues in the search for ancient life. Okay, so there's been a major strategic shift at NASA. They've updated the Artemis program, and the new top priorities are safety and taking a more careful, step-by-step approach to landing humans on the moon. And here's the bottom line. The actual crewed lunar landing is now being pushed back to the Artemis IV mission in 2028. So what happens to Artemis III in 2027? Well, it's now going to be an orbital validation flight. Think of it as a full dress rehearsal, a lot like the Apollo 9 mission, to test all the systems before they go for the big one. Meanwhile, let's jump over to Mars, where the Curiosity rover has found something pretty incredible: the largest and most complex organic molecules we have ever identified on the red planet. So NASA has been digging into the data on these long-chain hydrocarbons. We're talking molecules like decane and undecane. And their new analysis is, well, pretty mind-blowing. They're saying that non-biological processes just can't explain how much of this stuff is there or how complex it is. This points to the very real possibility that these could be leftovers from ancient cellular membranes. In other words, a potential sign of ancient life. Okay, let's come back down to Earth and talk about biology and human health. We've got a truly groundbreaking study that's redefining how we age, plus some fantastic new research that brings fresh hope for treating both cancer and Alzheimer's.
Get this. Researchers at Rockefeller University have mapped a staggering 7 million cells across 21 different organs to create the most detailed atlas of aging ever. And what they found is huge. It turns out aging isn't just random decay. It's actually a highly coordinated process across the entire body, and it kicks off way earlier than we thought.
And one of the most fascinating takeaways here? Roughly 40% of the age-related changes they saw in the cells were significantly different between males and females. It really highlights that we might have very distinct aging pathways.
On a related note, a big national study in the US has found a worrying link between certain forever chemicals, PFAS, and faster cellular aging. Specifically, the compounds PFNA and PFOSA showed a strong link, and the effect was especially pronounced in men over the age of 50.
And we're rounding out our health news with two major breakthroughs. First, new research has defined exactly how the Alzheimer's drug lecanemab clears out those toxic brain plaques. It does it by activating the brain's own immune cells. And in cancer news, a different study showed how a simple blood test can help some bladder cancer patients safely avoid having major surgery. Hey, if you're finding this news summary valuable, please take a moment to like and subscribe for more updates from the world of science. All right, next up, we're diving into the world of genetics and evolution, where we have a microbe that is basically breaking a fundamental rule of biology, and we also have a brand new understanding of Earth's very first animals. So, to get this first story, you just need to know about something called a stop codon. It's pretty simple. Think of it as the period at the end of a sentence in our genetic code. It tells the cell, okay, you're done building this protein, stop here. But what if that period was, more of a suggestion? Well, scientists at UC Berkeley have found a microbe that does exactly that. This microbe, Methanarcosarcina acetivorans, does something really wild. When it reads that UAG stop codon, it's like it flips a coin. Sometimes it stops building the protein, just like it's supposed to. But other times it just sticks in a rare amino acid and keeps right on going. The result is incredible. A single gene can end up creating two totally different proteins, which pretty much upends a long-held rule of genetics. And in evolution, a University of Bristol study has finally solved a major fossil paradox. Through genomic analysis, scientists proved that the very first animals on Earth were actually soft-bodied. This explains why we could never find their early fossils and completely rewrites the timeline of early animal life. Now for climate and environment news. There was this really hopeful theory that melting Antarctic glaciers might actually help us fight climate change. Well, new field data has pretty much debunked it. The idea was called iron fertilization. The hope was that as glaciers melt, they'd release iron into the ocean, sparking these massive algae glooms that would then suck up huge amounts of carbon. It was a big source of hope. But a new study from Rutgers University shows that's just not what's happening. The data reveals that a whopping 90% of the usable iron in the Southern Ocean actually comes from deep ocean upwelling and sediments on the continental shelf.
Turns out the glacial meltwater itself provides very little.
And finally, let's talk tech and quantum physics. We've got a new system that lets scientists watch quantum failures happen in real time, and a really surprising study that suggests being a bit rude might actually make AI smarter.
Researchers at the Niels Bohr Institute have developed this new monitoring system that is an incredible 100 times faster than previous methods. This breakthrough is letting them see that even quantum bits that look stable can suddenly degrade from good to bad in just a few milliseconds. That's absolutely critical data for building more reliable quantum computers. And here's a weird one from the world of AI. It turns out a little bit of attitude might be a good thing. A new study showed that AI agents programmed with more assertive, human-like traits, like interrupting or pushing back, actually performed better and were more accurate when it came to complex reasoning tasks. Who would have thought?
And that is all for this Science News Bulletin.
We will have another update for you in 24 hours.